Good morning, children. Welcome back to the social session. Children, for the past few days we have been learning about the first empires. As part of that, we have seen the Mauryan dynasty and some of the most important kings of Mauryan dynasty. Yesterday we tried to learn about Ashoka, and after the Ashoka, Shatavahana dynasty. After the Mauryan Empire, during the Mauryan Empire, what was present in the Deccan region was the Shatavahanas, and their capital city was Amravati, and we have seen a place at Jagityala district called as Kotilingala. It is a part of the Asmaka Mahajanapada, and we also tried to understand about the famous places where these stupas and inscriptions were excavated. And beside Kotilingala, there are many other sites of these Buddhist monasteries and Buddhist monks. Monasteries were found like Nelakondipalli, Kondapur, Dhulikata, and Peddabankur, Kisaragutta in Telangana district, in Telangana state of India. And today we shall learn about how these headmen of these clans have become the kings of the kingdoms. So, sometime after the end of Shatavahana dynasty or Shatavahana kingdom, Ikshvakus mean Ikshvakus, okay. Ikshvakas assumed the royal titles. Royal titles mean as a king, and established a king, and they have established a kingdom with its capital as a Vijayapuri. So you have seen Shatavahana dynasty, Amaravati as their capital, and now we are looking about Ikshvaku dynasty, whose capital is Vijayapuri, which was probably located nearby the Nagarjuna Konda on the banks of the river Krishna. The present Nagarjuna Sagar is located, isn't it? So in that area they found this Vijayapuri, which is a capital of Ikshvaku dynasty. The important kings of this dynasty are Shantamula and Virupaksha Datta. Shantamula and Virupaksha Datta are the important kings. Shantamula. And Virupaksha Datta. These are the two important kings of this dynasty, Ikshvaku dynasty. And these kings tried to bring together the various headmen, the various villages headmen and small chiefs by marrying their daughters. At the same time, they sought to show their distinctiveness by performing yagnas like Ashwamedha Yaga and Vajpaya Yaga. So by performing these yagnas also, they tried to show that distinctness, and they made large donations to the Brahmins. Large donations. You have seen even during the Shatavahana dynasty also, their women used to donate a lot of wealth and land to the Buddhist monks, and they were followers of the Buddhism mostly. And here we were trying to understand that these Ikshvaku kings had performed large yagas and yagnas, and even they have contributed huge amounts donated huge amount to the Brahmins. They also claim it to be the descendants of Lord Rama. Okay, Rama ka waris bolke they had told that, and they are from the Ramayana. Okay, interestingly, the women of Ikshvaka family were devoted to Buddhist saints, whereas the women were devoted to the Buddhist saints, just like the Shatavahana dynasty women. So even these Ikshvaka dynasty women are mostly devoted to the Buddhist saints, and they also made a large donations to the Buddhist monks and Buddhist monasteries. And there were to the famous stupa and monasteries of Nagarjuna Konda. Nagarjuna Konda is famous for is a famous Buddhist monastery. Even if you go there now also, it's an island which is located in the reservoir of the Nagarjuna Sagar. In the excavations while constructing this reservoir, under the excavations they have found the large Buddha statues. So those all are put in the museum there. So these show that a very large monastery and stupa were built with the donations of the women of Ikshvaku dynasty. And some of the important kingdoms are the empires of the Indian subcontinent in the early ages. If you see, one is the Kushans. Kushans are the important dynasty. So this dynasty, the Kushans are originally migrated from the China and gradually established an empire with its center in Afghanistan. That is more than 2000 years ago I am talking about. So by keeping Afghanistan as their center, they started establishing their kingdom and spreading it. The most famous Kushana king was Kanishka. So you know this Kanishka is famous, okay. So Kanishka is a famous king of this Kushana dynasty. The most famous Kanishka dynasty has come to the throne. He has ascended the throne in 78 Common Era. So you need to learn this 78 Common Era because it is a Saka era. Okay, I tell you what is Saka era because it is Kanishka's period through which the Saka era has got started. So they controlled a large territory which is present today in Pakistan because Afghanistan center से बनाया सो है ये kingdom. So बहुत सारा जगह जो है वो पाकिस्तान में चला गया, पाकिस्तान territory में है, and it also extends up to Mathura in India and Allahabad beside large parts of Afghanistan. The Kushanas also controlled regions up to Oxus River, okay. And they effectively control the major trade routes passing through the Afghanistan between India, China and Iran. ये जो trading route है ये पूरा उसके kingdom में से जाती है and they have controlled that. And this was the era of great expansion of trade between the India, China, Iran and Rome. And there were many religious preachers, scientists and artists. There was a movement of religious preachers, there was a movement of scientific explosions which have taken place. People across these countries came to know about each other. That means because of the trade route, they came to know each other, what is the civilization there, what is their developments. So they started inter-exchange of these all things. And there was a better understanding of not only custom and religions but philosophical thinking and new art of building styles. Beside of course of buying each other's produce. As a result of this trade, what happened? Urban centers all over India got expanded and gold flooded into India. Gold started coming into India during this period only because of the trade with the Rome and other countries. And this can be seen in a large number of gold coins from this period where most of these coins have come from the Rome and those belong to this period only. 78 Common Era is the accession of the Emperor Kanishka. It became the beginning of what we call it as Shaka era and Shakabda, we call it as Shakabda. Many South Indians to this day also we use the same calendar. This era is 78 years behind the Common Era. So it is behind because 78th year is the beginning of this Saka era, but whereas the Common Era starts from the one already. So it is behind 78 years. And the large empire which got established early was also the Gupta Empire. The Gupta dynasty began their rule. We have seen about Shatavahanas. After Shatavahanas it is Ikshvakus, and after Ikshvakus it is Kushanas, and now we are discussing about the Gupta Empire. The Gupta kings or Gupta dynasty kings began their rule of a small kingdom in modern Bihar, and within 3 generations gained control over most part of the northern India and Gujarat to Bengal and even Delhi in the present day and Madhya Pradesh. And some of the most famous kings of this dynasty are Chandragupta I, Samudragupta and Skandagupta, Kumaragupta and Chandragupta II. These are some of the famous kings of Gupta dynasty. The Gupta kings are famous for 2 major developments in Indian political system. Firstly, when they conquered a new kingdom, they allowed the old king to continue the rule and on the condition that they accept the superior status of the Gupta kings. On one condition, okay, they used to again give it back the kingdom to him and they used to ask him to rule, but you should accept the superiority of the king who defeated you. And you have to follow the orders given by the emperor. Thus, many old dynasties continued during the Gupta Empire to rule in many areas, especially in South India, despite being defeated also. However, the Gupta kings retained full control over many parts of North India. And secondly, some Gupta kings and many of their subordinate kings and kingdoms friendly to them gave villages to Brahmins with full administrative rights. Most of the kings they had donated villages to the Brahmins with the full administrative rights. That is the second major political development during the Gupta's period. Thus, these villages did not have to pay any kind of taxes to the villages, to the king, or obey the orders of the provincial officers who could not even enter these villages. And Brahmins settled in these villages and performed yagas and taught Vedas to the young Brahmins, Kshatriya, Vaishyas. They taught Itihasas and Puranas to all the people. So, we shall learn about the religious practices like Ashwamedha Yaga sacrifice, which has been done by the Gupta's period during the Gupta's period in the next class. And we shall also end up the unit called as the first empires in our next class. Thank you, children.